Hello, everybody. Greetings to all. Welcome to the Snooker Hall podcast. I'm Dan Murren. This will be a slightly different episode in terms of style. There will be no discussion of the latest snooker tournaments or snooker news. There is one topic at hand, and that topic is youngsters getting involved in snooker. Maybe somewhere we can find future champions among the youth of today. To give us all some insight on this, I am joined by a man who knows more about this than most. He is the head of a wonderful organisation called CueStars, and he's a very accomplished snooker player himself, Mr. John Hunter. John, welcome to the Snooker Hall podcast.
Hi Dan, and hi everybody.
So, what can you tell me about John Hunter?
Right, okay. Well, I think the first and foremost, really passionate about snooker. Started playing when I suppose I was quite late to it. I finally got into a snooker and played snooker. I think I was nearly 17. And then I just was totally fell in love with the game. It was such a great period as well with the players on the TV. You know, your Cliff Formans, your Bill Wermanicks, your Steve Davises, your Alex Higgins, Ray Reid. I mean, so it was a golden time. So yeah, so I loved it. It fitted the way I was as well because I'm so a little bit. I've learned now a little bit high on the autistic spectrum. So being in that environment just really suited me. Yeah, I really loved it, and yeah, I started playing at Berkshire Club in Windsor. For anybody that might know about that club, it was um, owned by Jack Carnham, who was a top billiards champion as well. Yeah, so it was a great place to start playing snooker. Yeah, I was very lucky. Berkshire Club in Windsor.
And you mentioned a few notable characters in snooker there. Did you have a particular favourite player when you started getting
I
into snooker?
did, and I think, yeah, I think that people are laugh because I get some of the players in Q Stars say I'm Steve Davis. So yeah, Steve Davis was him and his dad. They used to come to the club because Steve Davis enjoyed playing billiards, and he played billiards. Jack would invite him over. Jack kind of invited him to the club, so I'd be in there as a 17-year-old practicing, and Steve Davis and his dad would be like a few tables down. So yeah, so he was my to begin with, he was the person that I was trying to copy and things like that. Yeah.
And is there a particular standout moment, a memory that made you truly fall in love with this sport?
Yeah, mate. I think for any player, when you're really trying to sort of practice and really giving it everything. For me, it was the century break. Yeah, that was the big exciting thing. I remember it now. Yeah, I was with, and it was quite a nice moment because I was with my mates from school. We would go in there at lunchtime, and I made this my first century break with them. I was playing my best friend's brother, and yeah, I remember potting. I think the blue was for the century. Yeah. So that was my first real buzzy moment at snooker. Yeah, and then that just even drove me even more crazy for the game because then I started to compete in competitions as well. So
When
yeah,
you
so
hit
that's
the century break, did you do the Sean Murphy nod to the crowd, or
yeah. I know
or to your mates,
about.
and just
I
like a little
don't know.
smug
I
little
mean,
nod?
yeah, I don't. My friend Andy from school, he's funny because he says that I was a nightmare in everything I did in the club when I started. I brag about I was going to pot this ball and do that ball, and yeah, I've pretty much. So yeah, I would have done something really cringeworthy, no doubt. Luckily, then you didn't film anything, so I mean, so I would just say that I handled it perfectly, Dan.
Yeah, we'll say that. We'll say that.
Yeah, which
So
was was yeah.
that was century break. What is your highest break that
Yeah,
you've
well,
ever nailed in practice or in competition? Or
yeah, in competition, the highest I made is 139. What I'm most proud is because I was knocking on a bit when I did this. I think I was 52 years old, and I did some coaching at a club in Bournemouth, and the guys there, they are just been brilliant, and they've been brilliant with the scheme, so supportive. The Bournemouth Constitutional Club, give them a shout out. Herman Desmere there organised it. And then when I was there, I was doing the lessons. They said, "Well, look, we would like to see you play properly. Can we do a little organise a little exhibition night?" So to play some of the members. So I had 6 members to play, and I remember I was really nervous because there was about 20 or 30 in this room watching us play. And initially, all I was trying to do is try and make a 50, and I remember just potting the black and not even trying to get on the red because I just wanted to be sure of making a 50. So once I'd done that, I relaxed, and then I went to play Herman in the final game, and I remember knocked in a long red, and then I started going red, black, and the nature of the thing that everybody was sort of chatting, and there was, it's really relaxed. I think I was in the seven, I think I got to 72 or 73, and I heard one of the couple of the guys, because they're so near to you, turn around and say, God, he's on a maximum break. And then from that point on, it was a nightmare because it went hushly quiet, the whole atmosphere changed, and I managed to do it.
Yes.
And they've got a little plaque. Yeah, they've got a little plaque. And yeah, and I just it can it's like, I mean, these snooker players tell you, you'll do something crazy at the most unexpected time. And I'd done two before, but not in that, in the snooker hall playing, practicing with somebody. I've done that twice before, but this was special because, one, my age, um, and secondly because I couldn't have been in amongst, they're people have really been supported on me. So it was great because it felt like I gave them something back, for all the support they've given me. So just lovely moment. And I've got a little plaque there now. And every time I have the juniors there, I point out to them that,
Oh yeah,
yeah, I
I did
remind
that.
them, look what I did. In fact, it's on the YouTube. It's on our YouTube channel somewhere. Jamie Wilson, who's one of our players who became a professional player when he was only 16. He went there, and he got up to 120 and missed the yellow, and that I've got that on
Oh.
film. So and that's the sort of thing Jamie would have done. He would have loved to have, done that and then given, say, oh, that was easy, the pockets are buckets. He would have loved to have said that to me,
Mhm.
but he missed the yellow, so he didn't get the opportunity to do that. So, but yeah, but there's a lovely, lovely place. I still go there every month to catch up and with them all and do their lessons.
So you mentioned Jamie Wilson there, and he was part of the CueStars Academy. How did you get involved in
Yeah,
CueStars?
yeah, Jay, we have a competition structure, and it's bronze, silver, and gold. It's for under 21s, and it's based on standard, and it's like a stepping stone system. And Jamie, when he was about 7, I think, I might be wrong, 6, 7 years old, he came in at bronze level, and then he worked up to silver and up to gold. The interesting thing about Jamie, I mean, he was incredibly talented. I remember standing with his dad and watching him make this brilliant break, 120 odd or something. And again, really lucky to be there just that moment to see it. And I think at that point he was about 13 or 14 years old, something like that. So you knew he was going to be good, but he didn't get results in Q Stars. It took him ages to win his first tournament. I think Tim told me he played 93 competitions before he won his first competition. So I remember being sat outside after he'd just lost again outside his dad's club, and he was like in bits, in tears. I said, "Look, Jamie," I said, just keep going. You're really talented. Something to go your way." Anyway, he wins our first tournament, and then 3 or 4 months later, he goes to Q school, age 16, and all I'm getting is messages. I've just beaten, you know, this former pro. I've just, and he's just goes on a roll, and he gets onto the professional tour. Um, and youngest ever UK. I think the only person that's younger, I think, is Luca Brazil. Amazing. It's sad because he doesn't play. He's not playing now. But yeah, I mean, incredible talent. So Jamie, if you listen to this, please get your cue out and get cracking again.
Rack them up again.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
mentioned that there is a maximum age that is in place for
yeah,
CueStars.
yeah, yeah. For the bronze, silver, and gold tour, the maximum age is you've got to be under 21 on the start of the school year, the 1st September. So if you're under 21, you can go in, and which one you go in depends on what standards you've reached. So it just depends on what your highest break is in a match. So when they start out bronze, we would normally encourage them to go into bronze when they've made their first 20 break in a match. That's a figure. And then for silver, it's 40 to got to get this right, 40 to 79 break as silver players. And then our gold tour, we had to push the age up for the gold tour because just the standard got so high. So for gold tour players now, it's an 80 break in a match and over. And any silver and gold player, we're encouraging to play in the national tour. So we've got about, I mean, probably a third to a half of the players on the national tour who come from this system. So I'm really proud of that because it just shows you how good they are now.
How many, youngsters are we talking about here?
Um, well, I guess we've got probably, but it'd be over 100 players signed up. We will get an entry. I mean, the biggest entries we get are in the 60s now, but the average entry is probably about 50 players per tournament, 50 junior players. So that stands up really well, I think, anywhere. And that, and it's they're not they're really good players as well. They're really working hard. They're coming in after school. You know, I know the thing is, and you think, oh, they're going to be on Xbox and PlayStations and this and that. But no, these kids, they really put their snooker first. They'll be in and they'll be training. There are coaches. Um, yeah, I mean, because the standard's so high. So if you don't do that, you're not going to be successful. It's tough. It's quite a tough system, really. But then I remind them it prepares them well for what comes after that.
Yeah.
So
When
got
it well on the main tour, no one's going to take it easy on them. It's
no,
if
no,
it gets to
absolutely not.
that level, there are no mates
Yeah.
there. It's
And what's really exciting now, I've got players that are travelling to come to play. I mean, initially we had players coming from, because the area we cover is I'm probably going to get this wrong, but it's sort of Sussex, Hampshire, Surrey, Berkshire, Wiltshire. That's the sort of area. But now we started to have players come from outside, so Kent and Essex, and now it's gone further. We've got a lad coming from the Isle of Wight. We've got a lad coming from Jersey. So he's got the Jersey airline. I forget what it's called, but they sponsor him. He's 10 years old, and he's coming to play in our events, and he's doing incredibly well. Um, I think, yeah, I think he's won some of our events already. Yeah, so, and even now, there's potential in a few years of a girl from Iran, whose idol is Hussein Vivari. She's only 8 years old at the moment, I think. And her dad's determined, she's learning English and determined that she's going to come over here and take part in some of the competitions at some point, which is
give it a go
amazing.
in snooker. No,
Yeah.
it's nice to hear. That it's a bit more. Bit of diversity isn't
Yeah.
always a bad thing. It's
No, no, no. We've just said it's yeah. We've got as I said we've got got some girls that play, not as many as we would like to play, but I guess I've got to be careful what I say because when you're mentioning names, I think it's fair to say that the standout at the moment is Elise Scott because Elise has won some of the world's women's under 21 events.
mhm.
I think she's already won 2 events, so she's the one at the moment that is top of the girls that play.
And so you mentioned the area that
Mm.
CueStars will cover. Are they specific clubs for CueStars, or does CueStars kind of base itself in existing clubs or independent clubs?
Yeah, they're all independent clubs. Everything. I've been running this now in this format for nearly 15 years. So clubs close, clubs open. I mean, we've been quite lucky in the area. If we've lost any clubs, we've had some new ones. Um, I mean, again, I've got to be careful because some clubs are more supportive than others. I mean, I treat them all the same because I learned that very early on. You've got to treat them all the same. But some clubs will go that bit further. They'll sponsor their tournaments. Um, at the moment, I guess the clubs that probably are most supportive is the Frame Sports Bar in Colston. Tony Thompson's been brilliant right from the beginning. He's very keen to have the tournaments, and then not only that, he's just supported them and sponsored them. I mean, the club I'm based at's been always been very good. Mike Trapnell at Salisbury Snooker Club, has always supported the events, and done that little bit extra. But the Crucible clubs and Newbury, in particular, and Reading are brilliant. Jason Francis has been good. Snooker Legends, he's very sort of well known. We did the junior 900 a year ago. That was that worked out really good. I'm so lucky, Dan. I mean, the support I get, I could spend 2 hours just thanking. So, what I mean? So anybody out there that's given us some out, massive thanks to you, you know, because it's what's made it work. So it's all the parents, all the players, because the parents chip in, they help out. They're be in the hall, walking the hall with me. Um, it's just incredible. And again, even the players, because it's 15 years now, we've got players that didn't get to where they wanted, in the game in terms of like being a pro, but they've now become coaches, they've become tournament organisers, they've become referees. Again, a shout out to Stephen Hughes for that. He became the youngest ever referee, I think, at one point as well. So they're all so there's stories all the way through. That's why I'm terrified when I talk, because I know I'm going to miss somebody that I you know what I mean. Just shout out, but that's just the nature of it. I can't, So yeah, very lucky to to be part of this.
Well, I've just thought of a really good segue actually. So,
Mm.
well, one question into another one. So, over the summer, I spoke to Joe Perry, and he mentioned
Yeah,
a lot
well,
about
there you go.
CueStars, and he's been
Yeah,
an ambassador.
and yet I should have mentioned Joe, because I mean, boy, what a difference that's made. Um, I'd asked professionals before, and understandably, they have. I mean, I get it because I'm a player. I compete, so you have to be quite a selfish individual. Ultimately, they have to earn a living. So me going, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? Well, of course, it's not. It's not gonna. Most of them are gonna not give it the time of day, and I totally understand that. But it don't ever stop me asking. And Joe had come down and done an exhibition, because we finished the season. I try and get a pro down, and I just cheekily asked him at the end, would you, I had this idea in my mind. I said, would you support this? I said, I'd like to have like a super series for the juniors, with a Q school place. But I said, would you cover that? Yeah, yeah, I'll do that. Just no hesitation, just brilliant. And now I think I think we're coming up for a third year or fourth year. And I'm mindful. I always sort of just double check with him, say we're still right to do this, and luckily so far he said yeah. Then he also had our best players down to his house. Just just brilliant, and yeah, it's just great to have somebody like that, in your corner. It's just Oliver and Bradley, and we've had Connor and all our top juniors, Jamie. They benefit so much from being able to go and spend a day or two with him. And now of course he's got his own club as well, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm
he has
quite
mentioned this club. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm quite excited to sort of get down there again soon. I'm hoping to go down there for a few days, and catch up with him. And I think he's got junior clubs going now. So yeah, no, yeah, yeah, just so that made a massive difference. I don't think he realised just how valuable that was, because he's just like that. He's just a normal person, just a humble guy. So he just when I asked him, just yeah, I'll do that, But it's just made such a difference to what we're doing. So giving it a real credibility that because because he does the commentating now as well. He's sort of well respected in the game. He's now mentoring Neil Robertson. So and he said to me, which is amazing. He said, if a player gets on the tour, so say we're in the same position as we were with Jamie, I felt a bit bad because I couldn't really do anything for Jamie. It came out of the blue, had nothing in place. So he's really on his own, with his family. But now Joe said, if one of them gets on the tour again, then he'll offer support, mentorship, and he would try and tie it into any sponsorship arrangements he's got, with a view to sort of taking that player under his wing. And that would be, that could be a game changer. That could help them stay on the tour because, they'll be travelling to the tournaments with him and Neil. So that could make a massive difference. But I'm keen that that happens if they get on the tour because that would be the right moment because they've earned it again. Yeah, I could tap them up now and say, "Oh, can this player join you?" But it wouldn't be the right time. They'd need to be on the tour because I'm mindful he's still a professional player. He's still got to put his,
Yeah, he's got to put his
yeah, he's got to get
self
results.
first at times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to have anybody knocking around him right now that isn't on the tour, they'd have to be on the tour, and then he would, he could bring them in under his umbrella because it sounds like they have a wonderful time. They've just been out in China, and I've seen the pictures of him and Michael Holt and Neil Robertson, and they're all sat around having coffee. And I mean, as a player, I mean, you would love to be in that situation, wouldn't you, with your mates, traveling the world? You know, that must be something really worth trying to achieve. I would imagine if you love a sport. You know,
and I suppose even just if Joe Perry were acting as a mentor to a
yeah,
youngster
yeah,
who's come through
mm,
academies and made it onto the tour, just to have
mm,
that person there's even just the everyday life around a tournament. Okay, well, where do I go? What
yeah,
shall I do
yeah,
now? It's like, well, maybe you should just you seem a
yeah,
bit on edge, or maybe you should
mm,
practice here. Having that advice from someone who's been there and done it, that's that
yeah,
is you
yeah.
can't buy that. That's
No, you can't, and I think that would be the difference between coming off the tour after 2 years and staying on the tour. Because I think with that, you give yourself the very best chance of staying on the tour. Because you're with somebody that's been on the tour. I mean, I don't know how long Joe's been on the tour now. I think it was 92. I mean, he came for it 92, didn't he? So,
yeah, I believe you're right. Yeah,
that, yeah, so that's coming up for 30 years, isn't it, from Masters, right? So, I mean, yeah, to have something, like you said, to have something like that in your corner is incredible. Yeah.
and I suppose the segue is Joe Perry. It's known as the Gentleman Joe.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are your expectations of the players in terms of code of conduct, sportsmanship? What is there
Oh,
a
right.
standard of
Yeah,
behaviour that you expect from
yeah,
the
no,
academy
we have it very
graduates?
high, and I've got. I want to use this opportunity just to very quickly shout out our coaches that if you like, most impactful on what we do, and we've got Tim Dunkley, we've got Brian Cox, we've got Kai Michael, we've got John Woods, um, and the reason I've called them out, there are others, don't get me wrong, but the reason I picked those four out because they get the most kids coming through, and also what they do, they prepare them really well. So we have a strict code of conduct. I mean, there's an etiquette which Tim's done on our website. So there's a strict dress code to begin with. We apply it strictly because they play national snooker and they have to wear all the right gear and clothing. So it's proper shoes, not trainers. Proper trousers, not jeans, and then collared shirt. A lot of the kids actually have waistcoats, and their families have got sponsors and things. So they're dressed up, ready to go. And then it is a battle. There's no doubt about it. Sometimes we lose the battles in the hall, but in general, we encourage the parents to watch their child, but from a distance. And so there's not that eye contact. There's not that interference. And then we haven't we haven't got any resources, so we haven't got we just one of us or two of us will be walking the hall, so the kids themselves have to referee their own game. So if you're not at the table, if you're not in play, you're the referee. So you got to call out the score, and then we're walking the hall to ensure that this is happening. But I'm not it is a hard work because it's emotional. You've got 10-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 5-year-olds. They're not going to take the loss particularly well. They're going to break down, they're going to cry, and so yeah, it is a hard environment, but because of that, I think something pretty cool comes out of it. Because I do like to think these kids, it really does set them up well for everything else that they do. It's almost they're learning life skills, within snooker hall. You know, how, like you said, how to conduct themselves, how to, the etiquette. You know, and in snooker, that is its strength, isn't it? You know, that if you feather the white, you own up to it. In other sports,
Yeah.
footballers, I
Oh,
mean, it's incredible. I mean, they'll the ball will hit them in the head, and they'll be holding their leg or something. The amount of it's so it's scary, but
even
thankfully we don't have that in the snooker.
even last night I was watching some football and it was Arsenal versus Inter, and I'm an Arsenal fan. It wasn't a great result, but at one point the ball clearly comes off the Arsenal player and
Mm,
goes out for a
mm,
throw, and
yeah.
both players, the Inter player and the Arsenal player, both
Mm,
ref,
mm.
ref, it's my
No,
ball, and it's like, it clearly is not. And just I
no.
don't know, it's those little marginal gains, but it's lying and cheating basically, and I know
Yes,
it's
you
accepted
feel
in
for the
football, but
kids because
not in
yeah,
snooker.
because these kids that are in the snooker, they're going to love football. You hear them talking about, they've got the teams and stuff, and they see that, and of course, they're in the snooker hall, and there's so many opportunities, more opportunities in snooker to put a fast one, to put the score up wrong, or just to there's so many opportunities, and then they see on the football field all that going on. So so it is a battle because I'm in these scenarios where I haven't seen what's happened, so I'm relying on you guys to tell me, you give me your version of events, and like in that instance, in the football, one's saying, well, no, I scored 10 points. And the other one said, no, no, you only scored 4 points, and you're thinking, how did we get to this point? But that is because they're all seeing it in other sports. Um, so, but in general, we feel we prepare them well. When they go and play in national snooker, in general, I think they've all behaved themselves pretty good. I mean, there'll be the odd bit of problem here and there, but I think in general we do pretty good. Got to, I'd like to think if it's a CueStars player at a national event, they've got they it's a good they've got a good reputation. But it is it's a constant battle. There's no doubt about it. It's a war you never totally win.
Yeah, I suppose that's the same with a lot of issues with kids. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, of course, yeah, just the nature of it.
Speaking of kids, who usually is it who initiates, the journey with Q Stars? Is it the parent who's maybe seen their child, knock in a good shot on a pool table, or is it the kid who's like, oh wow, I really like this, I want to try this? Who, in general, do you think initiates the
Yeah, it's a really
journey
tough
more?
question. That I mean, first of all, I don't help myself at all. In publicising it. There's a little there's a devil in me about that because I sort of also want people to find it quite difficult to find us. Because if they do,
Hmm.
then you just feel that if they do, they've put a bit of effort in straight off. Because I know that's a bit mean, but so where they come from, it is very random. Tim, um, Tim Dunkley, we were sort of yin and yang, really. We're complete opposites, but we work. I'd like to think we've worked really well together on this. And Tim, said the other on Sunday, I was chatting to him. He said, "Oh, this lad just appeared, nowhere," and he said, "I couldn't believe it. He's got like a perfect cue action. He's got everything work, and yeah, so it just comes out of nowhere, Dan. Really." Because we've got no strategy really for I'm not going around putting flyers up in schools. I'm not doing any of those kind of things. I obviously see all that being shown to be done, but I feel what's most effective about what we do is our best players will get seen, and then the person will ask, well, how did you start? And so it's really through word of mouth. I mean, it's a luxury we got because the numbers are high. So, you, you, I suppose if we didn't have many players playing, then we would probably have to promote it more. But because it is so strong, it sort of gives you that ability. Just it's just exciting. You just get a kid or somebody come through the door, at a junior club on a Saturday morning, or and get in touch, and they're already really good. Like you said, it might be they played a lot of pool, so they've already can hit the ball good. It might be that they had a little table at home, but yeah, it's quite random. So in the, I don't know. Um, there's no consistency to how that's happening. We started every year with a bronze tour, and of course we have to move players up. So we move 6 players, maybe more, out of bronze, and we think, well, where's our next players? Because the bronze empties up, and then suddenly within a couple of tournaments, the bronze fill right back up again with really good players again. So, yeah, yeah, very. Yeah, so I'm not really quite sure how it works. I don't. Again, it's one of those things you don't want to overthink it, do you? Just be thankful it seems to be doing the job.
You mentioned that some kids they progress up to the silver and gold level. How how quickly can a good mentor slash coach spot that kid's got something? Is that something that you can see straight away, or do you have to see a few days or weeks or?
Um, yeah, I use in the past. I mean, as coaches, involved in it in the past, you get excited about somebody. I suppose, you think, oh yeah, this. But I mean, I can't speak for the other coaches. But I, because I oversee it, so I sort of try not to get too excited about anything. I mean, I made the mistake because I was in a tournament when I was 17 or 18. I was in this Sweps British under 19s or something, and I was in Manchester, and I got through to the finals day, and Stephen Hendry was there, and he was, I think, 12 or 13 years old, and he lost, and he wouldn't stay for his trophy, and all the people around him were, yeah, oh no, we're going back to Scotland, we're not going to stay for that, and they should have done. And then somebody asked me, well, because he was obviously everybody was talking him up. Somebody said, well, do you think he'll make it? I said, no, not a chance. And he became 7 times world champion. So yeah. So with all these kids, there's 2 reasons why I try not to big anybody up. Is the one reason when you big one of them up, you're probably going to upset all the others and their families. You know what I mean? And the other reason you don't want to put pressure on anybody. So I just let the system do its stuff because it's a very clear system. You go in bronze, you try to get silver, you go to silver, you try to get the gold. As Jamie proved, you don't even have to be successful at that to get on the tour. You just need to take your opportunity when it comes along. So even if you're a player that doesn't win any events, as he didn't, it doesn't stop you. So that was a good message. Um, yeah, I mean, there's clearly players that have something special, true, but then it's a long old journey, isn't it? Well, I mean, what they say, 10,000 hours practice or something, 10 years.
Yeah,
So that's a
1,000 hours.
yeah. So if you start saying, oh, you see a kid who's 8 or 9 who's making 50 breaks or whatever, and oh yeah, he's going to be world champion, he's going to be this, going to be that. I don't think you can call that. Don't think you can call it. I don't think you can. So yeah.
And the other way, if someone is there, and okay, maybe you need to be delicate with how you say this, but it's
Yeah, yeah.
if you just know that this youngster just hasn't got it, and they may enjoy it and they may work hard, but you could just know that they've been trying and trying and trying, and nothing is improving.
Mm.
Is there a case where you know maybe this isn't for you? Is that something that you
Well,
approach, or is it not your job to do that?
well, I mean, I do understand that because I mean that you described me really. I mean, if there'd been somebody around me, because I know now looking back, I didn't have like traveling and all the stuff that you need to have. You think you've got it, and you haven't. I mean, you won't know it. Um, I mean, and then I would tend to I mean, what the way it works usually, if you love the game, even if you don't have all the things you need to be successful as a player, there's no reason why you can't do what I've done. That is, get your coaching badge, set up something, so you still stay involved. So you still got all those things that you love, and you still. I mean, that's what's so cool at the moment is with the players that are not successful they're so supportive of the ones that are because they're all mates off the table. So they're still getting that enjoyment, and that's why I'm so hopeful. If I can get 1 or 2 onto the tour, then that has a massive impact on all the others because it just they love snooker, so they'll get more out of it because if they're friends with that person, they might even, I mean, in some case, I mean, like Judd Trump, Jack is a brilliant player. Jack travels the world with Judd, Karen's brother. So that, it could be your mate, couldn't it? Your best mate. So I don't worry too much about that, and I don't feel like I have those kind of conversations. I think they just tend to, they tend to just, we big up our referees, our tournament organisers, because they play as an important role. So why can't they become the best referee? Why can't Stephen in the future, if he wants, become a world referee? Why can't I mean, some of our tall and old guys, I'm thinking of Chris Wyatt. I mean, he's excited. He's going off to World Snooker Federation event, I think, to do a week's referee in there. So whatever direction, they can still do something is really impactful in snooker. So it sorts itself out. So
And
you don't take some kid to one side in their family and say, "Sorry, mate, your kid's."
you're cut. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not lucky. I've never, I wouldn't ever have any sort of, but it's not that brutal. I mean, the
Yeah.
tournaments are brutal, but I don't sit down with somebody and. I mean, I guess that's like it in football again, isn't it? Because you have an apprenticeship, it gets renewed after a certain while, and they have to sit down with you. So we're not, we're sorry, Dan, you know, you've what was you saying about you argued too much on the foot or something, you were talking, weren't you, earlier about
Mm.
skullduggery in football. They'd probably turn around and you saying, well, you don't fake your fouls well enough, when you're in
Yeah.
the box, you should go over it more. So we're not, we're dropping you, your apprenticeship is finished. Yeah, no, I don't have anything like that. It'd be fun,
Yeah.
it'd be cool though to do it, wouldn't it? Bring people into your office and you know and say that, sorry, your son, he's sat there, he's 9 or 10 years old, saying, sorry, your son, just not going to get anywhere in it.
Yeah. The, what?
Yeah,
It's a great use of the word skullduggery. It's a word that we should use more. Actually, it's
yeah, yeah,
I suppose people say the dark arts or
yeah,
another
yeah,
word that begins with S these days. But
yeah,
it's yeah, skullduggery is that's a
yeah.
good one.
Skullduggery, yeah.
My opinion on, and maybe this is a simplistic view. Maybe you can fill me in on
Mm.
this. I'd always thought that there are four factors which can determine whether a youngster can have a shot at a good career in snooker, or at least a
Yeah,
chance to have a career. And
yeah.
I always thought the factors were talent, commitment, support, and opportunity. And I don't know which one is the most important. Is that too simplistic a view, or I suppose a bit of luck might help from time to time? But
Yeah, yeah.
is there more to it than that, or what else is
Yeah,
required?
yeah, no. I think that's good covering. I mean, the opportunity you can look at that in two ways. You could have the opportunity to be able to play. So you've got a club nearby you where some people don't. So you could have that. But then I see opportunity, in two ways because I see that you've got to take an opportunity. So you could have all the other things, but there are just moments that crop up, that define where what direction your snooker journey is going to go. So if it's about if you like delivering just in those moments, and that you don't. That's why I find come back to it's so hard to predict who's going to be the person that's successful because ultimately it just comes down to a split moment. You know, you're in Q as Jamie found himself and he's in that final game. If you win it, you're a pro. If you lose it, you're not. So there's going to be a moment in that game which you've got to take that opportunity, and whether you take it or not, it's quite harsh, isn't it? Because that is such a fine margin, and you could have a player in that position and they've both done all those other things, one takes it, one doesn't. Why? So it's just why it's so hard to. I mean, I just see it. Let's get as many players the opportunity and in that moment as possible, and then the theory is that somebody will take it and kick on, and then same likewise. Perhaps to get one player to stay on the tour, you might have to get 5 or 6 players on the tour. That's usually,
Yeah,
you
it's a
know,
numbers game. Yeah,
yeah,
and
I
it's
think it
like
is.
the
Yeah, I know.
the Eminem song, isn't it? You only get one
Yeah.
shot. Do you know?
Got to get
Yeah,
well, yeah,
that's
it's a
it.
perfect song, isn't it?
Yeah, Yeah,
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, I mean that's why that song's so successful, isn't it? Because that is, yeah, he summed it up because it is like that. So from my point of view, it's difficult because obviously some of the players and the families I get to know better than others because they might be near me, an emotional sort of attachment does develop. So if their results are coming in, I'm sat there on my phone thinking, oh, I hope this goes as it was. But in general, when it comes to deciding how to run things, I've got to sort of step back from that and just look at it in those terms that it's a matter of how do I get as many players on the tour as I can, because that is the real key thing, you know. Because if there's more players on that I get there's more opportunities for those players, and then there's that chance that somebody like Jamie did takes it. But yeah, because ultimately the whole system, I think Tim would agree with this, is focused at making the best player they can be, and then from our point of view, it'd be so exciting to think, oh, that kid that came in when they were 8, 9 years old, they are now lifting the world trophy, and we've been we've helped we've been a factor in their journey from the beginning. Yeah, that is such. I mean, as I talk about it, makes me, I feel tingles just talking about that, because I can't think there's anything better. Everybody can tag on to a player when they are good, but if you were the person that was lucky enough to see them make their first 50 break, their first century break, win their first national tournament, and then you're seeing them, on the tour, traveling the world, and then you see them like win a big event, then you see them lift the world crown. I mean, yeah, I can't
yeah,
think. Yeah, and I'm sure Tim feels the same way as that, as I, and the other coaches. That must be what drives them. I'm sure it is.
yeah. Oh no, it's that feeling that knowing, you've been following their career for a while, and
Yeah,
it's,
yeah,
you knew that there was the chance for some
yeah,
success here, and to
yeah,
see it come to
yeah,
what become reality is, yeah, it's got to be pretty satisfying. It's
yeah. Well, that's I think that's what drives us all in this. Yeah, I think that's ultimately, what it is made it successful. Yeah, yeah. And Tim's very clever. I mean, he'll recommend a book to me. He'll say, read this book. There's a book he got me to read recently, and I think it was about table tennis players and how we, as a country, we suddenly had this golden period of table tennis players, and they were all like doing well around the world and all sorts, and from nowhere, and they all lived down the same street or something, you
yeah,
know.
Reading was it, or what
Yeah, I
was it?
think
It's
it was
Reading.
something. Yeah, yeah, it's a really good read. So it was sort of saying that you know you it's a combination. Lots of things come together in one spot that makes something pretty amazing happen. And so I think it was a nice little thing for him to say to me that that's what we that's maybe what's happening, because in our area we've got no professional players. Yeah, there's no history in the area. There's no. I say we've got no professional players. We've produced professional players, but I said there's no professional players. I mean, Billy Castle, came through CueStars when it was like a handicap system in the early things, and he got on the tour when he's 25. He had 4 or 6 years on the tour. Um, so it was tough for Billy, much tougher than it is for the ones that come through now, because Billy had nobody to follow. I mean, the other ones that come through now obviously can follow Billy, and Billy came through a system that which wasn't designed to get somebody on the professional tour, where this system obviously is much better for it. And Billy is rightly say he's our most successful player, because he got plenty of years on the tour. He had some incredible wins. He turned over Jimmy White, Ronnie O'Sullivan. And what's great for us is, like, we're cheering him on. We know him. He's one of us, and it's just, again, so he's given us a taste of hopefully what's to come. He's sort of the trailblazer, is it? He's the one that. So yeah, lifetime memories, Billy. You know. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad he's not on this podcast because he can banter like really well. He can, he'll be really giving me some stuff. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
you brought it on yourself.
yeah, I will. Yeah, he'll be. Yeah, yeah. He's fun. We've got some amazing people. This, I think, sometimes people think it's just a junior system. It's not a junior system. It's for all players, all ages, it's for everybody. So we've got 55s and over tour, we've got 40s and over tour, we've got a championship tour where there's a tour, Q School place for the winner, because I've got amazing sponsors that chip in. So so we're a big family, big, weird, crazy family. So
Speaking of weird, crazy families, some correspondence from the snooker hall community. You got a
yeah,
few minutes to answer some
yeah,
questions?
yeah, go for it.
First one is from James Russell. Hello, a
Mm.
question for John, if that's okay. If a
James?
kid from CueStars is showing all the signs of a future champion, but they are not from the most privileged home, is there a
Yeah.
support network to make sure they get a chance to play? It would be a shame to lose a special talent because their parents can't afford to support them. Snooker is not Formula One after all. Is that
Yeah.
something CueStars could help with, or is it just about the technical and tactical part of snooker? Thanks, James.
No, it's a brilliant question that, and that is what CueStars is all about. So if you are successful in CueStars, if you're winning things, you get those rewards. I noticed in the past. I mean, again, it's like the Formula One, where very often the kid and the parent would be, have the means to travel around and have all the things. But you didn't have a hungry player. You didn't have somebody that was going to fight. When that moment comes, it's going to dig deep. So for me, it was so important to give everybody a chance, but to make sure that any rewards came on the back of success. So, for example, with Oliver Sykes, who's our best under 21, he's also the country's best under 21. He really benefited from the Joe Perry Super Series last year because he won all three events, which I think was £1,500. He then won. Joe paid for his Q school, so another £800. Snooker Hub paid £1 a point. Oliver won that as well. I think he made about 130, so he got another 100. So basically, then that gives him the means. It still isn't enough, if I'm honest, but at least it allows him and his dad, and he's gone on to Q Tour and onto the amateur tour, and so that's bringing him a bit closer to the professional game. So yeah, so what James has said, that is what lies behind CueStars, is to give everybody a chance, irrespective of your background or wherever you come from, and that so Oliver's proof of that.
Yeah.
Oh, got a bit stuttery there, Dan.
Well, people say that all the time. uh, uh, got a question from Maria. Hi, Dan and
Mm,
John. Shout out to John and the team at Q Stars for what you do.
yes, thank you.
As a big snooker fan, I like to see as much live snooker as I can, but I'm a teacher, so my opportunities are extremely limited. I'm always
Mm.
disappointed to see huge gaps in live audiences when I watch on television, but there is a potential solution for this. Could WST and QStars come to an arrangement where they can invite a small group of local QStars kids to attend snooker events? I know all too well that keeping kids quiet for a few hours is easier said than done, but these would not be random school kids, they would be young snooker fans and potential future players. They would know how to behave during the matches. As long as their education doesn't suffer, I can't see many drawbacks with this. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, it's a great idea. It obviously have to come from World Snooker. I don't have a lot of communication with organisations. I get that because they have a lot on their plate and a lot of things to do. Um, but it's a very good idea. I think a lot of our players will travel to the tournaments anyway. I know that I get into hot water sometimes because I put a tournament on the first day of the one at the Ali Pali, the Masters, and a lot of them, parents and all the kids, they all going en masse to that day. It's their little annual thing, because it is great, to see, because that's what fills up the audience. I mean, in the case of the Masters, I mean, the crowds are brilliant there, aren't they? So clearly, what they do works really well. We're only in a little small area, and there isn't any professional events in this area, so there isn't anything on our doorstep. But I mean, I think World Snooker do it anyway through their coaches. They'll give tickets and invites, to coaches in the area. So yeah, it's a great idea, and I think, in fairness to World Snooker, I think they do some stuff. But it's right. Often the audiences are, aren't. I think that's often because of the players that are playing. Because one thing about a lot of the players in snooker, because they're not coming from what I call a normal background, they tend to be overcoached, and let's be brutal about it, they're pretty boring. So they're not going to put bums on seats. I know that's a bit harsh. I mean, one thing I encourage with our players is to, be mindful that, you want people to watch you. So when you've got a frame one, learn how to play all the Judd Trump shots. Learn how to do the banana screw shots, and and bear that in mind. And that's why I love our YouTube channel, because you've got one or two of them are absolutely getting that already, and it's great to, in advance them hopefully becoming professionals in the future and entertaining everybody. It's great. Have a look on there, and you'll see what's to come. And if we can get, some players on the tour, I promise you they'll entertain you. So yeah, but yeah, great question.
And Sean has written in, greetings all. This has been
Hi,
mentioned by a few snooker outlets, but if snooker were to become an Olympic sport, would groups like CueStars be eligible for government funding? Thanks for the podcast. Keep up the good work, Sean.
Uh, no, I've long since given up on any funding. I did get a sports match award a long time ago. That was because I got a sponsor, I think about 1,000, and sport. There was this, you could get it matched. But what I do recall about that is it was like a nightmare trying to, do all the films and forms and trying to get through all these obstacles and hoops. And of course, I realised, I thought, well, if I just go to the people I know and say, can you, sponsor for £100, it would be easier to do it that way. And that's the way I've done it ever since. I've done everything in house. I've gone to a few meetings here or there where I've been invited to them, but I've found that nothing's come of anything. So that's not a criticism of the sport. I just think our sport is still in its very early stages, so it's focused at the top, which is right, because obviously, that's got to be strong for it to feed down. So yeah, so the Olympics, I don't think that's a runner. I don't think that's going to happen, is it? It certainly, we would have, we would be way out of that, in terms of, there'd be no interest shown in Q stars. Yeah, so it'd be, so no, there'd be no connection. But I've got no issues with it. It's not, it's not something that concerns me. I like the fact that we're allowed just to get on and do our stuff. Really, be a little bit maverick.
You can do it your own way. You don't need
Yeah,
to.
I mean, I'm not very good at working with people anyway. I'm a bit, just my nature is, I'd like to be in control of something. So yeah, to join like a committee and go to meetings, and no, that's still not,
Not for
no,
you.
no.
Ah,
And
fair enough.
it's not like I've got any axe to grind, or I'm unhappy about it. I'm not. That's just my way. I just like that ability to think, oh right, I'm going to do this, and then I just go and do it. It's, that to me is for me, that's what works best. Yeah, and I've got brilliant people around me. So I would call myself a listening dictator. So
And if anybody wanted to get in contact with CueStars through email, social media, YouTube, how would they do that?
well, I, again, I don't want to. I don't want this to sound the wrong way, but the website is brilliant. I mean, Tim, is everything's there. It frustrates him. So you've got an About Q Stars page, which just take the time to read, you'll find out everything about it. You can find so much. The YouTube channel, you can visually see what's going on. There's calendars. Yeah, I mean, you can message me, and I'll feed back the information. But often it will just be, here's a link to this or here's a link to that. Now that's not me. I'm not being rude. It's just that I'm like so driven on what I've got to do that I'm very mindful, especially when I'm knocking on a bit, Dan. I'm sort of on this mission, and I'm like firing it. So I don't mean to be difficult to get hold of or respond to, but all the information's sort of there. And then once I like to, I'm a bit old school. I like to deal with people face to face, So just bring your child along to a tournament. If you feel your kid's ready. Tim and I say once they've made sort of 20 break in a match, just get them along. If there's a membership link, just fill the membership up. Come along. The moment you're there that day, I promise you, we'll look after you. Your kid and you will start to, meet other parents in the same situation. If your kid, gets involved, you might find in a few years you're travelling to weird places. I think they went to Bosnia and places last year, and you'll be all having a drink at the bar and having a good time. While your kids probably, are playing in the tournaments and things. So if that's something that interests you and your kid loves snooker, just come along, just get involved. Yeah, simple as that.
I think the reason I was keen to speak with you about this is I don't just want to speak about the mainstream snooker. Speak to people about refereeing, about
Mm,
coaching, about commentating, about traveling as a
mm,
super fan. All
mm,
aspects of snooker, and the youth part obviously is without a youth game, there's no
mm.
future in snooker. So this
No.
is it's a big part of the game. I think and this insight that you've given on how youngsters can make a make have a chance to make a career for themselves, if
Yeah.
it's a player, if it's as a table fitter, even as a
Yeah,
referee,
exactly. Yeah,
there's
yeah, that,
always a path. And if you're
yeah,
passionate about it,
yeah.
and you work hard, then there's a chance, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look at me. Look how look. I mean, yeah, I had to do my time. Not that wasn't in prison or anything. I'm just trying to point out, but like my work inside. So I did my time at a bank. Bored, crazy. 9 to 5, and I got to the point where I was lucky. They said, there's a chance of redundancy. I took it like a shot. Obviously, I don't have holidays now. I don't have a lot of spare money now, but I'm doing what I love. I love snooker, so I'm doing what I love, and I'm doing it all the time. So that is what this is all about. If you love snooker, come and join us, because that's what we all share. It's no more complicated than that. And like you said, if it leads you down the route of being a table fitter, being a coach, who knows, a commentator. I mean, we've got Bradley Cowjoy, who I think would be brilliant. He's got his YouTube channel. I'm trying to get him to do podcasts, but he's a busy person. But I keep pestering him about doing podcasts and a few podcasts for us. Yeah, so whatever direction, just come and join in. Yeah, come on the journey with us.
John, thank you so much for your time. I'm really, really grateful for all the insight, for the stories you shared, and
Yeah,
the
thanks,
experience
man.
you shared. Really, really grateful. And hopefully you'll come back and speak to me again in the future.
Yeah. We'll keep in touch. Yeah, just get together every now and then, just have a catch up, see how things are going.
Sounds good to me. I'll
Yeah,
speak to you
brilliant.
soon.
Yeah, thanks very much. And as I say, thanks to those people who put the questions in as well. That was the brilliant questions.
No, they're very
So
good questions. Yeah.
yeah, cheers.
Hmm.
Right then,
I'll,
better get cracking. I've got things to do.
yep, me too. Right. I'll
Yeah,
speak to you soon, John.
yeah, no, that's brilliant, Tam. Thanks very much for doing that. Really enjoyed that.
Thanks, mate. Thank you again to John Hunter for taking the time to join me today and sharing his knowledge and his experience of this important aspect of snooker. He does really, really good work for the sport, and I'm grateful that he was able to join me on the Snooker Hall podcast. Please keep your correspondence coming in. The email address is contactus@thesnookerhole.com, and you can follow the show on X and now on Instagram. The handle for both platforms is @thesnookerhole. As I said, this was not your standard episode. We had a wonderful guest. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and thank you for all of the positive reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The Snooker Hall podcast will return very soon with more guests, more opinions, and more snooker chat. But until then, take care.